They thought they were trying to get a right-wing person. And you know what they got? A feminist prime minister. You know, 1/3 of the Japanese population is over 65. Their population is dying. And it's crazy how people wonder, well, why they got this person? Well, because people within the right in Japan have been so desperate to try to get anyone right-leaning that they decided to get this person, who was an open feminist and it's a migrant teacher. This person is not right-wing. A woman just cannot be right-wing. She will put her feminist principles on top, and she'd be fine importing a bunch of migrants. You get what you deserve, Japan. You tried to fit your birth rate. You can't fix it because both men and women work to where nobody can have kids. Asian work culture is atrocious, where you have to work 14, 15-hour days, and people could barely be able to buy a home or afford any food. And yet you get this person. You get the person that is a migrant teacher and an open feminist. Remember, in South Korea, there was a feminist leader that was run by a death cult. An open feminist death cult within South Korea. And now it's happening in Japan. Japanese will be dealing with the similar death cult you see in South Korea. I also hear that she's anti, pornographic and anti, maybe even anime with fan service. That's what I hear. I don't know much about her, but I can tell what's going on. I don't need to look into her that much. I heard that, people are trying to make excuses for her. All these right-wing accounts trying to say, she's fine, she won't cause any issues. And it's like, one, she's a woman. Okay, women are only out for themselves. Now, we're talking about Japan. So that means it's a homogenous society. Now they're importing migrants now because they're so desperate to try to have people take care of the old people that they're having to import migrants just to sustain themselves. Now, that won't work for shit, and it's just going to cause more issues. We're already seeing that. I think it's funny because I've seen people gain after this white person who married a Japanese woman. And it's like, okay, fine. Enjoy the foreigners who are not white, okay? Now, of course, the people who really didn't like it were Westerners. In reality, Japanese don't really talk outside their culture because they refuse to learn English correctly. It's kind of funny how there's a lot of people in Japan that try to learn English, and most of them can't even speak it right because they see it's more of a fashion instead of actually using it. And now we got this feminist prime minister. And it's because she put, I'm right-leaning. All you people supporting this are going to realize what happened to South Korea. She is most likely part of a death cult because people don't understand. Outside the West, feminism actually commit crime. Feminists commit crimes. Like in Russia, they commit acts of terror. They destroy vehicles. They harm people. They assassinate people. There's a reason why in South Korea they call the feminist group there a death cult. Because they killed a bunch of young boys. They openly, gleefully mock boys who get groomed and sexually assaulted. They encourage sexual assault of young boys. They had forums that they discuss about sexually assaulting young boys. And yet these people, these Japanese who don't learn a single fucking thing, they seen outside the West and see what happens when you import people. They see what happens when you try to integrate feminism. This is what I mean. People like to say it's the migrants' fault. No, Japan barely had migrants until recently. They barely did. They were a homogenous society, but they had all the same problems you see within the West. And why? Because of feminism. Feminists have legitimately destroyed Japan because both men and women have to work. And when both men and women have to work, that lowers the wages. That's a simple fact. If you go by their math statistic and you do the same thing like you do in the West, and so you see how the wages have stagnated. And it's always around half of what it should be. Feminists have legitimately destroyed Japan. And now they get a feminist prime minister. This is the state of, in general, all countries that are not, extremely poor. They don't learn from their mistakes. They think that both men and women can work, we're interchangeable, knowing that that's not the case. The reason why women stayed home, or mostly stayed home and worked part-time, was because her body is designed to give birth. Her body is designed to be nurturing children. Why do you think so many women go into nursing and hospitality jobs? Because they know that's what they like the most. And of course, these right-wing people are trying to cope and say, no, this is great. It's like, you people are hopeless. The conservatives in America are hopeless because they keep voting for people that will send more money to Israel and destroy our economy like they are now. And same thing in Europe. Now they want to, look at red states. They're always trying to put in digital ID on the internet, trying to de-anonymize the internet, trying to ban pornography. Same thing in Europe. They already did that in Britain. A conservative did that. A fucking conservative did that. And you know what they say? Think of the children. Knowing that children are getting past that easily. They're using Gmod characters just to bypass any facial recognition software. Gmod, 20-year-old game. It's pathetic. It's infuriating. And you know what? Does Japanese people understand this? Will a Japanese person that watched my video that's auto dub say, "Oh, this white pickle knows what he's talking about"? No, they won't, because they can be extremely racist, an extremely racist group of people, but they would never be sexist. They would never say, maybe we should not have a woman as our prime minister. Maybe that's a bad idea because women tend to be feminists, even if they're far left or far right. Look at Kiwi Farms. Run by TERFs, run by people who openly praise the scum manifesto made by an open terrorist. This is just pathetic. And I don't feel bad for Japan. Let them rot. Let them burn and destroy themselves and their culture, because they're too afraid to say to women, maybe you should go back to the kitchen.